Why a book of poetry now that announces I am Maria?
Well, it's a long story, so you have to read. But the truth is, honestly, this book I would only equate it to birthing a child. And I know many people who've written a book talk about, the kind of labor of writing a book and birthing a book. But this book is a book that kept asking to come forth. The other books that I've written, I was very clear about why I was doing them. And this was a book that I fought. It was a book like, I don't want to do a book of poetry. Who am I to do a book of poetry? And this is a book that scared me. This is a book that made me anxious. This is a book that made me feel like I was out of my comfort zone. This is a book that feels unexpected for me. This is a book, had you told me, as I said 10 years ago, that I was going to be writing a book about poetry that was going to excavate my childhood, that was going to be laying a lot of what I felt about my childhood, about my life, out on the table in a very vulnerable way, I would have been like, yeah, I'm not doing that at all. That is not me. And so I think after, I'm a big believer in doing things that scare you, and this scared me. And I haven't been scared professionally in a while. And it just kept coming up. So I wanted to do it because I think so many of us struggle with identity. So many of us are walking around with a voice inside of us that we don't know, that can teach us something about who we are. And that would be me. And the voice that wrote these poems was somebody that I was unfamiliar with, that I was not acquainted with, that was much more tender than the person I was projecting out in the world, that was much more heartbroken than I had realized, that was much shyer than I had realized, that was much angrier than I had realized, and who was still searching for something that I would call home, and that had a lot of unfinished business. And I think, where I was trying to get my whole life to be enough by just saying, I am Maria, and then stopping right then and there, and not having somebody ask me, which Kennedy are you? What about your parents? What about your ex-husband? What about? And just being able to say, I'm Maria, and that being enough.